All right, I'm gonna take like 5-10 minutes and just explain very broad overview why like most people are just broke or like literally the philosophy and most Americans follow, which we are supposedly the wealthiest country in the world, but yet most people are constantly financially inept. And really just start off with like three things. If you follow these three things, and I'm not even out here trying to like make money or anything like that, right? I'm not trying to get views to make it huge and make money, all that stuff, right? Like right now, I'm literally just, I just, I couldn't sleep tonight. I don't know if there's no way anyone is coming from the other channel I just made on my shoulder surgery recovery, but my shoulder's been messed up for a long time. So I don't sleep much some nights, and I was brain rotting, like I said in the first video, on finance stuff. And so I'm just here out on a whim, just trying to help people, just trying to maybe, if it's not these big YouTubers, with all these heavily edited videos, which totally props to them. I follow a lot of them, and that's a bulk of where my knowledge comes from, not from the school system and all that. But I'm just out here like trying to get people more aware and just break out of that stupid rat race matrix thing I was referring to in the first video, where people just work for money just to get a bunch of money to then what, not work and do nothing. Like maybe it's just more of an American mentality, but I find it really dumb. So three things, honestly, quick. Two things by Warren Buffett and one thing by the financial expert Shaquille O'Neal, right? Is if you follow honestly just this one thing, you're gonna be better than probably like 90% of people. 90% of people, maybe just like in the world. And it's so simple, but for some reason so hard for a lot of people to actually do. And it's just like Warren Buffett says, don't spend after, don't save what is left over after you spend. Spend what is left over after you save. Don't save what you have left over after you spend. Spend what you have left over after you save. Like literally that one concept is the make or break for most people across their life, right? You develop habits early in your like teens, 20s, maybe even like you're like a kid. And that one thing could be the determinant of you being very wealthy. And by wealthy, I literally just mean you're not stressing about money all the time, which I feel like that's the majority of society, versus the person who's stressing about money all the time because they don't have any, and they have bills to pay, and they have food to eat, and they have, they need to have basic necessities and a little bit of luxury. But literally, that's number one. Number two, it's not about how much you make, it's about how much you keep. You hear all the time the NFL players, NBA players, some other athletes, celebrities, whatever, they make millions of dollars and then they're broke. Like Kanye was broke, right? He literally owns the Yeezy brand, millions of dollars, and he's apparently like $50 million in debt. Like what? How? Right? So clearly that's not a money issue. It's not an income issue. It's a money management issue. And that's kind of my goal here is first, like I just want to create the channel and just help people have that concept in their head of like it's not necessarily all about what you make. It's about how you manage what you make. Now, the first step is of course making money. But again, if you make $30 million and you spend $35 million, you're technically more broke than the person who made $10 and spent five, right? Like I think people really need to look at that and be like, it's not, the income doesn't even matter if you literally spend all of it. Like as simple as that. So whether you're making 30K a year working at McDonald's or 130K as an entry level investment banker, you are more poor if you spend more than you save. Simple as that. And then the third thing is, like Warren Buffett says, like for 90% of people, you know, they are just better off investing in the S&P 500, like index funds. So I know if you guys are like super new to any sort of money, any sort of investing, that's like, okay, whoa, like what are you talking about? Investing, what are index funds, S&P 500, right? Doesn't really matter at this point. But if you are kind of at the point where, okay, I know not to spend all my money, I know to save it, and you're really good about saving, which one, props to you. You're doing better than most people. But once you get to that level, you want to make sure you invest money. And the only reason I say this one is that people overcomplicate investing a lot. And if you're doing the whole stocks and bonds and all that crap, like a lot of the time, you're just better off doing the boring thing, which is just put it in the thing that is kind of the boring thing that just gives you a small return every year. It might go up, it might go down here and there. Of course, there's a recession here and there. But in general, I don't want to make it too complicated because although depending on your level of knowledge on finances, because of course everything's relative. I mean, I know very little compared to billionaires and millionaires, but to some people, it looks like I know a lot. If someone doesn't even know, you know, like what is a stock, right? And I'm only like 23, and I feel like the only reason I can speak on this is I just have above average knowledge than say an average 20 something in America, just because, age isn't necessarily experience. Like experience is experience. It's just experience generally comes with age, right? But anyway, the point is, whatever level you're at, just know that investing the slow and steady way for most people is the way to go. Don't overcomplicate it too much. If someone's talking about mutual funds, stocks, and I'm like, basically that all that confuses you, so you do nothing. That's exactly what you're trying to avoid, and that's exactly why I say the thing. If you're confused, it's just S&P 500 index funds. Look it up, invest in that, and if you don't believe me, just put in what you can spare, a couple $100, $10, $20, whatever you are like. If I lose all this, it's totally fine, and just leave it for a few months and then see what happens. Just to literally get your feet wet. But point is, most people, they spend and then they try to save, so they never save, or they literally make a lot of money, which, I mean, it goes back to the first thing, and at the end of the year they're left with nothing, because again, it's not about how much you make, it's about how much you keep. And then people, once they get to this stage of like, oh, I should invest my money, it gets really complicated. They don't know what to do because they're afraid of losing their money, which of course in any sort of investing there's that risk, but it's a lot smaller than you think if you really just know the basics. And so people don't invest their money. But that's like a essential thing in becoming a person who's wealthy and has enough to even just retire, like the normal kind of, I'm going to work 40 years and retire when I'm 65 type of thing. But that's really it. I don't want to take too much time in this one. I just really wanted to go over those three things and just get people to really think about, like, everyone's a business. Like the whole, paying yourself first, you save before you spend, is the key thing. The key message here is like, just like how every company like Tesla or Google or Apple, right? They have their financial statements, right? They have a profit and loss sheet, just meaning like this is how much money they made. this year, right? They had a bunch of revenue, so like they just made money, and they have costs, and then they have profit, right? Just think of it like you are that as well, right? You make money, you spend money, those are your costs, and then the profit is like your savings. Because people, I don't think, realize like they're so involved in the matrix, and it's like, oh yeah, I just go to middle school, and then I go to high school, and then I just go to college, and then I get a job, and I work the job, and then I buy a house and a car, and I just pay the payments. Like it's like, how people are just sheep. I'm like, I don't know how people don't think about it. I'm like, bro, does this not seem like kind of crappy? Like, don't you want to know why are things the way they are? And it's like, why is it like this? Why can't we have it a different way? It's like, I think key thing is just understanding where you're at and where you want to be, but you need to understand how the system works now and the system that you are participating in to even realize what the big picture is. Like, I don't want to get too philosophical and like confusing, but it's like a fish in water, right? They don't know what the ocean is because like they're in the water. That's like all they know. So it's like you want to be the person outside the fish tank, if that makes sense. You want to see everything for what it really is. And that's my main goal here. And so I don't think people realize it's like you are a business yourself. You basically have revenue, you have costs, and you have profit. You are working for like a business. Say like I work for a accounting consulting company, but I hate all this corporate, crap, and you retire when you're 67, all this stuff. So like I don't really, this is a temporary thing. I want to figure a way out of the matrix as soon as possible. But it's like you work for a business, right? Which they have their own revenue, costs, expenses, profit, right? All that stuff. Which, keep in mind, if you're an employee, you are a cost to the business. But every business needs to make money, right? So you even working for that company, they need to make money off of you. So technically, you make more money for the company than what they're paying you. Otherwise, they wouldn't hire you because you're not really profitable for them, and that needs to be there. I'm not saying that you get paid $80,000, you directly make $100,000 for the company, but everyone's a cog in the machine, and together they do produce more output than it costs to hire the people, right? Just like if you had a business, you can't give more money away than the company's taking in. Otherwise, you lose money and then you go out of business. So you are employed by a business that gives you money, right? In which you just take that money and you basically are giving it to other businesses, right? So all you're doing is you're just taking these guys, you're making richer. You have money, and then you're making other people richer, right? Let's make it simple. I work for Apple. I have money. I go buy an Apple phone. It's like you're just giving it back to them. Or and then I give money to the apartment building that I rent from. I give money to Chevy because I have a car from them. I give money. You are a business yourself that's giving money away. Like, I don't think people like realize that. You make them richer, you have money, you make other people richer. Right? But in reality, I mean, I say you're in a business analogy, but you are an employee, right? You are working and then you give money to other businesses. But the end goal is you want to be a business yourself. You want to be the person who's like the person you are working for and then help. All you're doing is making everyone else rich. You want to make yourself rich. But I don't think people just realize that very simple demonstration I just gave. And I'm just like, you can probably just tell the way I'm talking. Like, I'm just so, I wouldn't even know if passion is the right word, but just like so kind of irked that this isn't talked about more. But anyway, point is, most people are broke simply because they spend more than what they save, or they literally save nothing. You're making people richer. You are your own financial statement. And at the end of the day, you can save all you want, but you do need to invest. But we'll get into all that as time goes on. But thank you so much. Stay rich, stay humble. See you in the next one.